Well, hello everyone, Philosopher Stoner, making another video. Once again, more of the same, just in my room, chilling, nothing too different, same set, same setting. So yeah, there's some stuff I forgot to mention yesterday, and it's related to my second last video that I did about who really runs the world. I've been watching more of the conspiracy theory people, the right-wingers, like David Icke, Alex Jones, those people. And again, I don't agree with any particular thinker 100% about what's going on in the world or what the agenda is, that kind of thing. Like, I'd say that yes, I've cherry-picked a lot of different ideas from a lot of different thinkers. Um, I don't really have a particular label or ideology other than just, yeah, the antinatalism thing. But, um, that's a subject that other people have talked about and thoroughly gone into all the arguments. I'm not really adding any value to that philosophy as I've gone into before. But yeah, so it's a lot of these thinkers are aware of stuff going on in the world, and it's like I might have mentioned this in a video way back. It's like there's this Alan Moore quote, and Alan Moore is this anarchist author and thinker that wrote it's a famous comic book called The Watchmen, and a lot of his other comic books and stuff are good entertainment. But he talks about that, yes, a lot of the right wing conspiracies, it's easier to believe that it's all a single pyramid and that there's this evil, Illuminati running the world, when the real facts are that no one's in charge. No one's really ruling things. It's all illusory. And the problem is also in ourselves. And again, I'm paraphrasing. This isn't a quote from him. I'd actually have to look up the quote, but that's the basic idea behind it. So I mentioned in who really runs the world, the three factions that I consider to be dominant players, which are basically, it's the Vatican at the top, then the Zionists, and then the Satanists. And those are the three main factions. But there are these other factions that I thought about, and I can't. I did mention big tech, and big tech is this new religion of the singularity, which is, as I said before, is this merger of machine consciousness with human consciousness, and they think that we'll achieve immortality this way, and find God. And so it's a religion and it's an agenda, and I definitely agree with these conspiracy theory types that there is this thing, predictive programming. So like you'll see these series and entertainment in the media, like Netflix, whatever, these shows and entertainment on the television, whatever, that it's basically their agenda for the future. They put it out, say, 10, 15 years before, and they're giving you a taste of what the future's going to be or what they want the future to be. They're sort of putting it out there. They're hinting at, well, this is what's coming next. And I believe that to be true. The conspiracies of certain shows. There's even some thinkers that I've been stumbling across that show that there's books and stuff that, like actual novels, fiction novels, that predicted what's in the exact year. Like there was this book, for frig, I forget the name, but yes, it was written in 1997 that talked about 2020, how there would be martial law and a virus pandemic and that sort of thing. And of course, it's fiction. There's some sort of plausible deniability. But yeah, they put out things that they want to happen in advance. And it's sort of getting you used to this. Like, I talked about these shows, right? Like Altered Carbon, where that novel, that show is their agenda for the singularity, for the future. That's their vision of the future, and it's dystopian, but it's to sort of traumatize you early and get you desensitized to this agenda that's going on. So there is an agenda, and there are, Illuminati like forces in control, but it's oversimplification to consider it one pyramid. As I might have talked about before, it's like the mafia in New York. It's five families, right? And these five families are all rivals. They kill each other, they murder each other, they scheme and connive and double deal and wheel and deal and betray each other, blah 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 blah. But in the end, yeah, it's all one Cosa Nostra. So yeah, there's the three factions. the Vatican, the Zionists, and the Satanists. But these other factions, like I said, big tech, singularity, and then there's also the emerging power of the Chicoms, the Chinese communists. And I'm not really sure who they're in bed with. I think they're becoming their own independent entity, and they don't answer to the Jews, they don't answer to the Vatican, they don't answer to the Satanists. A guy like Alex Jones thinks, yes, he's in bed with the what he calls the New World Order and those factions, although he doesn't really talk about the Zionists or the Jews. But he's like, yeah, he all thinks they're all the same. That it's just the single. David Icke is the same. It's this single pyramid with a 1% or a minority at the top, and then it's the pyramid and the different levels down, where most of humanity is at the bottom of the pyramid. I think, like I said, that's way too oversimplistic. Yes, it's like gang warfare. It's like, yeah, all these different cliques, all these different gangs. There's overlap. As I said before, there are some Catholics that are Satanists. There are some Satanists that are Jews. All that kind of thing. There are, some Satanists that believe in the singularity thing too. There's some, like I said, some overlap, that kind of thing, overlapping agendas and commonalities. And as I said before, the five families metaphor, where occasionally these five families still form alliances. Like I said, in the end, it's all one Cosa Nostra. But yeah, these other, so big tech is a separate faction. So I guess, yeah, they're kind of like a fourth faction. And then, yes, the Chicoms, the Chinese communists, and then there's Africa. But then Africa, like, is being colonized. China is becoming more and more imperialistic. They are annexing places like Hong Kong. They are expanding. And I've been reading all sorts of articles that there's tensions now once again in Taiwan, and Taiwan considers itself separate from China, but China, the mainland, considers it now it's part of us. So there's all this political tension with that, of course, Hong Kong. So they're expanding. And there's places like Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe was one of these other places that had a similar problem that we have now in the States, where it's the fiat currency, the money printing, the possibility of deflation, stagflation, and then hyperinflation. And so Zimbabwe years and years ago had hyperinflation, but it's curious that we don't see any more articles or any more news about Zimbabwe. And that guy, Robert Mugabe, he died, and then they overthrew him. Some clique took over, but we don't hear about them in the news anymore. They used to be talked about a lot, and why is that? Because the Chinese bailed them out. The Chinese have effectively colonized there. They own all the mineral rights. They own a lot of property. They bailed them out. But they did some good, right? They built hospitals and schools and are maintaining the infrastructure. And they're expanding as well, too. The Chinese have the reputation in Asia, in that part of the world, as being kind of like the Jews. When I lived in China for 2 years, and then I lived in Vietnam for about a year as an expat. I was teaching English overseas, and yet the Vietnamese, the Thais, the Cambodians, all hated the Chinese, and they were always the wealthy. They always had the money and the power, and you could always tell, even though Asian people all kind of look the same to us Westerners, there are differences in skin color and tone, and you could always tell that the Chinese were the guys wearing gold jewelry. You knew, especially in Southeast Asia, yeah, that's a Chinese. But then there's different Chinese tribes too, right? Like, we think it's all one country and one language, which they impose Mandarin as the official language. But then there's Hakka, Yue, Cantonese, a few others. There's 7 or 8 different ones just in China itself. And then there's Western China, which is more Muslim. It's getting into the Middle East. And then you have these other factions. I guess. So we got 3, 4, 5. I guess a 6th faction is the whole Muslim Middle East thing. But then there's so many factions in that too, right? There was ISIS, which now seems that they've disappeared. There was Al Qaeda, they've disappeared. There's Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia is really just allied with Israel and the United States. So they're part of, I guess you could say, yeah, Zionism, but they're pursuing their own agenda too. These people, it's this classic problem of the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. that there are alliances and there are people in bed together, but they have ulterior motives and ulterior agendas, right? That the House of Saud and the Muslims aren't friends with Israel; they're friends of the United States, and then the United States is friends with Israel, and they need the protection. But then they have imperialist ambitions themselves. They have bought lots of weapons from the states, and they're becoming more independent. And recently, what happened with the price of oil a few months ago when it dipped into negative territory is China, Iran, Russia, well, especially Russia, dumped all this oil on the market, causing the price of oil to go into negative territory. So there's, yes, also Russia is a thing. But then with them, though, the oligarchs that took over in Russia after the Soviet Union fell, most of those oligarchs were Jews, which again you can't talk about, but yeah, they were ethnic Russian Jews that took over. So yes, I guess you could say that yeah, they're in bed with the Zionists, but yeah, like I said, but then yes, it's like I said, it's just all of these different, they're different families. There's, like I said, there's overlap, but they're rivals. They're killing each other. It's not a single pyramid. It's not one Illuminati. It's not one thing. I guess yeah, you could say in the end it all appears to be yeah one Cosa Nostra kind of thing, but different agendas and motives and infighting. And yep, really the truth is no one's really running the world. Um, I, I I had forgotten this. I'm oversimplifying things, but yes, I do think the three factions that I spoke about before are big players, are like the dominant players, and as I said, overlap between them, parallels and stuff. But yeah, like I said, the Chicoms seem to have their own agenda and they're expanding, and I don't think they answer to the Satanists. I don't think they answer to the Jews. I don't think they answer to the Vatican. They're they're playing with the big boys now. It's, yeah, so I don't I don't know. So yeah, they're running things, and then there's also I forgot the Commonwealth. Um, it's called the fuck's it called? Canseg, Canzeg. It's this Canada, Australia, New Zealand, um, United Kingdom. We're part of this thing we used to be called the Commonwealth, the former British Empire, and we're now all trying to ally with each other because we have a similar parliamentary system, democracy, that kind of thing. We're allying, but again, we're sort of answering to these other factions that I've spoke about before. We're not really a dominant faction, but we're still yeah. It's like a faction. It's a thing, but controlled by yeah the Zionists and the Satanists and the Vatican and stuff. They got their tentacles and all of that too. So, but yeah, the Chi-Coms, the Chinese communists, the fake communists are yeah this dominant power, big tech. Um, but yeah, the world is chaos. The world is a lot of chaos. It's we think that someone is really running it, and it's not. Anyways, I'm sort of just repeating myself now, but I guess it was just I wanted to put a clarification out there to what I said, that I myself I was oversimplifying it. It's all very complicated. I don't know all the answers. I don't have the solutions. It's I suppose yes, it just fits with my bleak worldview that it's all pretty. There's a lot of really evil, sick people running things that I've spoke about it before. It's 2% of the human population are psychopaths, where their brain is effectively cognitively different. The actual structure of their brain, the gray matter that's in this head of ours, um, it doesn't work the same way. They don't feel fear. Um, it takes extreme things for them to feel fear, and they don't have any empathy as a consequence, and they are the ones really distorting the world. They are the ones, these 2% of our population that are psychopaths, when you think about it, when you translate that into a percent of the almost 8 billion people that are in our world, that's tens of millions of people. And so you're going to find, if you did the right tests and the right brain scans, that yes, a lot of psychopaths are in government, they're in the corporations, they're in the Vatican, they're in the Zionists, they're in the Satanists. I bet you, yeah, if you did tests on most of the people in Hollywood, they would be psychopaths. Yes, the real problem in this is the psychopath problem, that they're effectively similar to like what I have with this autism thing. They're cognitively different. Their brain isn't working right. There's a disconnect, and that's the real issue. But then the old-fashioned word for that is, yeah, they're basically just fucking evil. But yes, it's like their brain's retarded. That's the problem in the end. But yes, it's a brutal world. No one's really in charge. They're all sort of scheming, vying for dominance. But yeah, no one's really in charge. Like I said, dominant players, but no one's really running things. And yes, it's all just a big giant mess. And I guess yeah, that's the message. That's the clarification that I want to put out. So yeah, not much else to talk about. Focusing on my e-commerce business, and I have an ad. I'm just waiting for it to be approved, and then I'm going to test the conversion rate and see how it goes. Maybe I'll have to make changes. I don't know. We'll see. And then I'm working on brainstorming other industries and other niches that I can do to make more products and more ads. I figured out how to do it now with Facebook Ads Manager. It's all very confusing and there's no technical support, so I've spent many hours figuring it out, but I'm figuring it out. Things are going good and it gives me something to do. I'm now working, full-time, close to full-time hours with the online English teaching. I feel okay. I'm helping, people and stuff, and it gives me a reason to be enthusiastic about getting out of bed in the morning with stuff. The goth woman that I've been dating off of that seeking site, I'm helping her. Like, I'm not giving her money. She wants to buy a new house, and I have taken some real estate courses, so I'm sort of guiding her. I'm also gonna, once she moves, she's been evicted. Once she moves, I'm gonna give her, I have a spare mattress, things like that, that obviously there should be a benefit for having some sort of relationship. But out of all the women that I interacted on that site with, she's not a hardcore prostitute. She's, she's a provider hunter, which is different. I could even make a whole separate video on that subject. But yeah, so I'm helping her, giving her some benefit, and it's companionship, and it's something, and there is a semblance of some kind of, at least a friendship, at the very least, even though she's married. I'm feeling some sort of it's not a huge connection, but it is some kind of a connection. So yeah, I'm happier. I'm feeling okay. Life's still pretty depressing with all the shit that I've just talked about. It when you realize, oh yeah, man, this is all just a big giant mess. It is pretty depressing, but I can't change the world. I can't take out any of these psychopaths or all of this shit. I can't solve it. I got to worry about me and myself. And I guess that would be my advice is, yes, prepare while you can. Get your exit strategy figured out. And if you can't, yes, I have emergency food. I have emergency water. I have emergency supplies. I'll be getting my firearms license in September. I'm going to be getting a gun. I'm going to be getting as prepared as possible for shit hitting the fan. Everything I read, every headline I read, every article I read is some sort of extremely negative, talking about, food shortages and starvation and civil war and turmoil in in Asia and World War III and all sorts of sensationalist bullshit. But yes, it's bad. 30 million people still, going almost homeless, and problems and economic depression and calamity and disaster. And it's, yes, be prepared. I watched both the extremes on the left and the right. The rhetoric is heating up. There's all this inflammation and animosity and tension that there's going to be blood in the streets. There already is, but it's just going to keep getting worse. We're not going back to the new, like January or December of last year, and how things seem to be. There was some progress being made, at least in the States and stuff. And now it's just going to keep getting shittier and shittier. And so prepare yourself. Prepare accordingly. Do whatever you can do, whatever you can afford, and prepare yourself. Seriously, I'm not joking around. It's bad. It's bad, folks. You can wake up and start reading, start informing yourself, and prepare as much as you can. And also enjoy whatever time you got left. Try to enjoy yourself. Don't make yourself totally miserable. I'm not advocating for that. Do what you can. Do what you can do. Try to be a decent person. But like I said, yes, prepare your own exit if you want, and prepare yourself. Just be prepared. Anyways, yeah, that's enough of a video. Philosopher Stoner out.